I think social media has the potential to be very powerful, and it obviously gives people access to athletes that they never had before. And with that platform, to be able to literally speak to people through tweets or whatever, there is a responsibility. And whether athletes who have 100,000 followers are bullying people who say something that they don't agree with, or sending out homophobic or sexist or racist tweets, there has to be accountability for that, because you wouldn't let someone get up in front of 100,000 people in MCG and say something that's homophobic, but yet on Twitter it's pretty much the same thing. So I think there has to be accountability, and athletes have to realise that having that with that platform comes responsibility.
Olympic diver Matthew Mitchum struggled to attract sponsorship even after his 2008 Olympic gold medal. Does the panel think that there's still discrimination with regard to gay athletes, particularly in attracting corporate sponsorship?
Let's go to David. You mentioned, by the way, well, before we move on to that, I mean, you mentioned your issue with gay marriage, essentially. And I understand you and Emma have actually refused to have a wedding ceremony until your gay friends can actually get married. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we started talking about getting married, we've got friends who are in loving, committed, monogamous relationships but don't have the opportunity to get married. And so we decided that until they had that opportunity, we wouldn't. It's a personal decision, and I really think the debate about equal rights in marriage, it really has to move forward and can't be used as a political football by the two parties.
Before we move on to the broader subject, let's just hear from John Alexander. You'll have to vote on this issue, but of course you won't get a conscience vote, I think.
No, but our side, we're allowed to vote however we wish.
So what are you thinking about that?
Well, I think one of the things that Tony has established is that when we went to the last election, we went in regard to this as that marriage is between a man and a woman. In view especially of broken promises, that at this point it is going to remain that from our party's point of view. We certainly believe that every right under the law should be given to people who choose to partner, but marriage is, at this point, between a man and a woman.
Just bring David back in, and we'll go to the broader question. I mean, do you think in sport there is discrimination, a covered sort of discrimination against gay athletes? And are there gay athletes who just simply refuse to actually come out because they fear that?
Yeah, I can't really comment on the attracting sponsorship side of things, but I think this is indicative of a bigger debate we have to have and conversation we have to have in Australia around homophobia. Because if you look at all the football codes, there's no athletes that have sort of come out in the last few years, and if you look at statistics, there have to be athletes, and that's terrible that a sort of macho, whatever way of viewing footballs in Australia prevents people from expressing their sexuality. 2010, I think Jason Ackermanis came out and said to, sort of wrote a column, whatever he did, and said that he advised people not to come out. And this is something that we have to change. We have to be challenging homophobia so that people, regardless of their sexuality, can express that. And with John, I think the biggest thing in this debate is that we're dealing with people here, and how can you blame someone for what they are? People don't choose their sexuality, and we marginalise the LGBTI community for what they are. So I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and we need to discuss it compassionately and actually come to something that's reasonable. And in my mind, that's marriage for everyone, regardless of their sexuality. And we've moved forward on so many other issues, and I think this is the next progression.
Yep. Look, I'll tell you a funny little story. Dr. Karen Phelps came by our office in Canberra, and we talked about a great mutual friend, Martina Navratilova, who had inspired her and was probably part of her reason for coming out. And as we talked, we had this rather flippant conversation. Maybe we should institute a gay marriage for women, and we'll call it a Navrattle over. And as the conversation went on, possibly an Alexander for gay men, not after me, but after Alexander the Great. And maybe this had some sort of, just joking about it, maybe it actually had some credibility that there is 3 different types of marriage, and maybe that could make everybody happy.
So are you actually saying that you'd favour gay marriage personally, but you can't vote for it because of your policy?
Sorry. Are you saying personally? I think Jill would disagree with that, but no, not for me personally.
No, I don't mean...
No. I was just trying to squirm around and get out of that.
Yeah. Well, perhaps you could just give us a straight answer now and we'll be happy.
Well, one of the interesting things that I'm learning about being a Member of Parliament is that, yes, you can have an opinion, but really what you are is a representative of your electorate. And I have talked to hundreds of people about this issue. I've met with families, parents of gay children who want their children to marry. Sometimes I've asked, what does the child want? And the child says, look, yeah, we have improved our lot in life so extraordinarily, I'm happy. But the families want that right. And if you look at where we've come from and where we are at now, most people would agree that it is inevitable. But the electorate at the moment that I represent does not support gay marriage.
Go ahead. I think you wanted to jump in, yeah.
They might be right, they might be wrong.
A lot of gay people may not want to be married, may not believe in the institution of marriage, but I think it has to be an option. And how can we be challenging homophobia when we're saying, you're equal to me, but you're separate? Yeah. I'll go and sign this document here, but you can have your civil union thing, which is the same, but not really. Like, I think we really have to start including people and bringing people together.
I'm going to go with the other end of the panel. Michael, Jason Ackermanis was mentioned there, and the more general issue that was asked by our questioner about whether there's discrimination against gay athletes. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, we haven't got another 2 hours for Acker. Look, I agree with just you are who you are and you love who you love. Make it legal.
Yeah. And Louise, finally, just a quick one from you on this.
Well, I actually know Matt. I see him all the time. I meet him in the gym and I know Matt, his personality, and there's no way he could hide that. So I think it was great that he could come out, and whether he gained or lost sponsorship, he was happy. And, yeah, he was just happy with who he was, and he didn't want to hide anything. So, it was great. I really like Matt. He's awesome.